This next session is going to talk about how we are getting to the market, what level of funding we're getting, where our funding is coming from, and I have five. I have 5 companies in various phases of funding, development, and production. So I'm going to invite Kate Drane from Indiegogo to come and moderate the panel. Kate is the head of hardware, design, and technology at Indiegogo. She's responsible for all aspects of business growth for the platform's design and technology categories and has led many companies, including Misfit Wearables, Scanadu, and Skulpt, to secure funding on Indiegogo. In addition to working at Indiegogo, Kate is the co-founder and CMO of the Can Van, the world's first mobile beer canning service. I like you. Made to bring reasonably priced and environmentally friendly packaging options to California breweries. She met her co-founders while attending Presidio Graduate School, where she received her MBA in Sustainable Management. They leveraged Indiegogo in 2011 to bring the Can Van to life. Ladies and gentlemen, Kate Drane.
That was awesome. Hi, everybody. Julie, thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here. As you heard, my name is Kate Drane, and I head up the hardware design technology categories at Indiegogo. And it is just amazing to get to be part or to play a small role in companies bringing their products to life. And so today, I'm just so excited to get to help these companies share their stories of how they brought their products to life. So first off, without any further ado, I'm excited to introduce Matt Landers, CEO of Stonecrysus. Give him a big round of applause, don't be shy.
Can you hear me? Great. Thanks very much for the introduction. So as Kate said, I'm Matt Landers. I'm the CEO of Stonecrysus, an intelligent health and fitness smartphone app and wearable activity tracker. So I'll just quickly run through our story and Stonecrysus' capabilities. And Kate, if I'm running over time, feel free to cut me off anytime. Okay.
Hold on one second, Matt. You need the clicker.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes. There you go.
I was looking for that. Okay, so Stonecrysus was founded in 2010. It was actually started very humble beginnings. It started as a self-imposed project by myself and my dad, who's a practicing cardiologist. And our goal was to see if we could quantify metabolism. And we chose metabolism for several different reasons. I don't have time to go into those right now, but if you want to ask me after this presentation, feel free. So in 2010, wearables were not yet a category. And in fact, people were constantly challenging us, are people going to actually want to carry something other than their phone and any other piece of technology besides their phone? However, we were persistent in our curiosity. We decided, though, that if we were going to pursue this project, we had to stick to these 4 core principles. The first is that Stonecrysus needed to be good at just one thing. It needed to help people improve and understand their health, not be all things to everybody. Second, we didn't want to just be a reporting tool that told people you took this number of steps or ate this number of calories. We wanted to do the analysis to produce the insights for the user. Third, the data needed to be accurate. Of course, if we're producing recommendations to the user, we need to make sure that we're analyzing accurate data. Otherwise, the analysis means nothing. The last thing is that we wanted to make sure that the tool took into account the 4 major components of lifestyle health. So lifestyle health accounts for hundreds of thousands of preventable deaths each year. So we wanted to make sure that our device, our tool, analyzed and produced insights for nutrition, activity, sleep, and metabolism. So while these 4 principles seem easy to manage when they're theoretical and they're compartmentalized, when you actually put it into action, it's a little bit difficult to manage, mostly because the human body is extremely complex. Everybody's physiology is different. Even as specific users' health improves or declines, their physiology is going to change, and the impetus for health change is going to change as their physiology changes. However, what it allowed us to succeed was our unique makeup of our team. We're a very small team. It's myself. I've had experiences in entrepreneurship, various different outlets. My dad, as I mentioned, who's a practicing cardiologist and a PhD computer scientist. Second was our perseverance. So we didn't come in trying to ride this wearables wave because there was no wearables wave when we first started. So we were persistent in trying to produce this product that would help people understand and improve their health. The last thing is, because there was no kind of key product out there. There were no other wearables. We had to create our own standards for form factor, data accuracy, and capabilities. We couldn't try and mimic or replicate the capabilities of another product. So far, we've earned 3 patents with 2 more pending. So just very quickly, the Stonecrysus system. User sets a health goal, and Stonecrysus learns how foods, activities, sleep, and metabolism affect that user's unique physiology. Based upon the goal and what Stonecrysus learns about that user, Stonecrysus tells the user how much to eat, what to eat, when to eat, how much activity to do, the types of activity to do, and what his or her sleeping patterns are. So because we're providing these recommendations, data accuracy becomes extremely important to us. So we don't count steps, we don't count calories, we don't count portion sizes, there's no counting at all. The reason is, again, back to data accuracy, these methods can introduce sources of data error. Nutrition labels, for example, can introduce up to a 50% source of error. So what Stonecrysus does, it doesn't say a piece of chicken is 100 calories. Instead, what it'll do is reference how a piece of chicken has affected you in the past. And depending on how your health has improved or declined, it's going to learn how that piece of chicken affects you today. Same thing with any type of activity. Stonecrysus tracks cardio, weightlifting, cycling, and just routine general activity. It doesn't equate a 1-mile run, for example, to 150 calories burned. It learns how a 1-mile run has affected you in the past. Depending on how your fitness has improved or declined, it's going to learn how that same 1-mile run affects you today. One more point here. So we also have an online web-based analytics platform. So from this analytics platform, a user can monitor, manipulate, analyze the over 35 data points we collect about lifestyle health. They can also grant permission to their health professionals, so their doctor, their trainer, their nutritionist, anyone else really, to be able to monitor and analyze these data. And with 35 data points, there's literally trillions of permutations that someone could analyze and get this previously unobtainable insight into how specific health stimuli are affecting health outcomes. So reaching the market outside of just the user using the app and using the Stone, which is our wearable, we've been contacting and speaking with hospitals, insurance companies, gyms, nutritionists, sports teams about implementing this technology, specifically with the web-based dashboard and the analytics capabilities there.
Awesome. Yay.
Yeah, that's it.
That's awesome. Okay, my one question would be, because you do have such a unique team, how did you first meet your what was the most important thing when choosing your co-founders?
Yeah, so the first one was my dad, so that was the fault there. But
pretty
so,
clutch.
Yeah.
What you guys are doing.
So our other co-founder, we actually went through a few different computer scientists to find the right one, and it was someone who needed to understand the vision that we were going through, but also someone with the skill and sophistication to be able to write the code that would analyze these complex relationships and factors and how the algorithms change as a person's health improves or declines. So we actually found him through a family friend after several different trials with other programmers. But he's been great. We've been working with him since pretty much the beginning.
That's awesome. So it sounds like your network is really important to helping you
Yeah,
ensure that you
absolutely.
have the right people on the team.
Absolutely.
That's awesome. Okay, well, thank you, Matt. Give him a big round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you. I realized that I didn't tell you guys the rules of what's happening here partway through and what to expect. So we're going to have a 3-minute pitch from each one of the companies who are going to tell you exactly what they're working on and how they got to be where they are. I get to ask one question because we have a tight session. And then afterwards, hopefully if we have time, we'll open up for questions as well. Okay. Excellent. So next, I'm really excited to introduce Dave Monahan from President and CEO and FitLinxx. Yeah, go for it.
Sorry, I can't hold the microphone and use my hands for other things. So,
I'm gonna move over
so
here.
I was just asked to talk about FitLinxx, sort of where we've come from and where we're going, and sort of the lessons learned. I just have 3 or 4 slides, but this is probably it's hard to believe, but we've actually had a first wearable in the marketplace in the year 2000. That's not a typo. It was called the FS1. It was a real-time running watch. And it was, what you're seeing there is it was collecting data from a little pod that went under your shoe and a heart rate strap. And both of those pieces of information were sent to the watch. It's a pretty big watch, but a nice display that showed you all your information as you were running. And actually, we sold a lot of them. I think it approached about 1 million units. But we had to build everything. Back then, we actually had to build our own accelerometer. There was nothing in the market that could do what we needed it to do. There was no wireless protocol that was low power. We built it. We had to build the activity monitor, heart rate monitor, the dongle. We had to build our own data center, our own API, and the application. So just a little contrast to today, but obviously, a lot of perseverance and sort of innovation when we did that, and way back in 2000. We then went into activity monitors, and we did 4 generations of activity monitors. And the one on the to your far right is our current product in the market from an activity standpoint. It's called the Pebble. And so, the iterations of this, the net was we went into a number of places. Most where we really are being successful is in the healthcare space and the wellness space. So, the net, what did we learn through this generations of devices? I mean, this was over the course of probably 7 or 8 years. You better be solving a problem. You better be iterating quickly. People always talk about the rule of 2 times, which is it takes twice as long to do anything. It costs twice as much. I think it's probably closer to 4 times. It just takes forever. You think you have things figured out, but there's always something that comes up that you got to solve that you weren't planning on having to solve. Perseverance, I already talked about that. Find the yes in all the no's. And somebody once told me, a no is just one step to a yes. Well, there's a lot of no's to get to the yes. Just be persevere through that. Keep focused. Partnering. So everybody talks about partnering. It's obviously an absolutely critical thing, I think, in this space. But be smart about it. We had some partners that almost took us down. They just were too needy and were really pressing us too hard and asking for too much. And then balance investments. The 2 areas, obviously, on the product side and the marketing side. I think a lot of startups. If people get into the space, probably spend too much time on the product side and not enough on the marketing side. Great news, the market developed.
Yay!
Now what? All right. I mean, walk through the floor. How many activity devices are there? I lost count at 100. And all I can say is, as the hype was developing and all these devices were coming into the marketplace, it's going to happen. It's a good thing. And the 3 things I learned from this is, 1, prepare for it, because they're going to follow you. And just be ready for it, because it's going to happen. Find your spot. Be different. And that's really why we went into healthcare and more, on the healthcare side and the wellness side. And ignore the hype. I can't tell you how many times I've been told that, this company's doing this or this company's doing that, and when you dig into the reality of it, it's not true. So just stick to your plan, focus, and execute. It was so much fun. We're doing it again. So, why are we doing it? And just to give you, if you haven't seen it, this is our new product. It's called the Amp Strip. It's a little a silicone piece that has replaceable adhesives. You put it on your torso, and it measures all day, 24/7, your activity and your heart rate. It's a full ECG. It's got a 3-axis accelerometer. It's got a thermistor, so it measures temperature. And it provides great feedback to athletes and fitness enthusiasts who really want to understand how they're doing while they're exercising, give instantaneous information while you're exercising. How am I doing, like, every day? Am I ready to exercise? Things like heart rate variability and exercise load. And so then, is my body ready to exercise today, or should I take a break? And then the third piece is, am I changing my cardiovascular system and improving my fitness level? Things like resting heart rate and heart rate recovery. So, why are we doing it? We think there's a market now to move into more insight, more accurate, more use cases specific to niches in the marketplace. Complementing the phone and the watch. Don't go against. Everything gets amplified over time, right? You better be unique and have something that the phone doesn't provide. And then you can see the list of things that have changed since 2000. I mean, we had to build everything in the past. Now we can leverage a lot of things that are out there, from low-cost circuits to wireless standards and so on and so forth. Just a quick advertisement. We're at booth 73735. We also just, to give a little pitch on Indiegogo, we launched an Indiegogo campaign about 6 days ago. We're already over our goal, and things have just done nothing but gain momentum. And I can't say how great it's been to work with Indiegogo to raise capital. Again, something totally different than when we got into the market in 2000, but it's been a great experience, and we really value our relationship with Indiegogo. That's it.
Yay. Give me a big round of applause. So you gave a lot of things where I wanted to ask follow-up questions. The one that I was most interested in is, since you had so many iterations of the product, how did customer feedback play into you iterating the product?
Yes, it's a great question. So actually, I would say it's a double-edged sword. You can get misled by customer feedback because they can't quite see around the corner, right? So strategically, you need to be thinking not just about what they're asking for, but how the market's developing.
Right.
So I say we take it and we incorporate it into where we head, but we don't let it be the only thing that guides us, because we have more information probably than more information the customer has, and you got to incorporate that in as well.
Cool. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So now for our next presenter is Marty Matak. I've been working on it. From Vert. So we're going to be hearing a little bit more about Vert. So thank you. Please welcome Marty to the stage. Okay, I'll sit right here.
I was going to say good morning, but it's already good afternoon. So good afternoon. Everyone's like, all right. So Vert, we're out of South Florida. And the three things we really focus on is injury prevention, player motivation, and fan experience. And I'm going to explain that right now in the presentation. So we really believe that 2015 is going to be the year of wearable technology, and we really believe that because of iWatch coming into play. Just like they've revolutionized every other industry that they've come into, whether it's a music industry or the phone industry or iPads, I think the iWatch is going to be a whole big new mainstream revelation for everyone. Okay. We're also in a very unique position. Clicker not working.
Dang it. Good job.
Oh, got it.
You got it.
We're in a unique position because we're the first wearable jump rate monitor. So just like the first heart rate monitor that came out 40 years ago, we're the first to come out with a jump rate monitor. And with that, that's where the injury prevention came into place. And it was something that we didn't expect at all. So that question about your customers telling you stuff, that kind of happened with us. And it started with the University of Florida. When they saw that, they kind of freaked out and said, you can count jumps? And we're like, yeah. For us, it really started with how high. Someone dunks the ball, I want to know how they can jump. But for University of Florida, they had a bunch of players that hurt themselves, and they wanted to know, okay, we need to manage their workload and their jump load, and so they were a big partner for us a year and a half ago when we started working with them. And this is an actual image from a game that was taken this past year, only about 2 months ago, and they never would have known the jump load of a player, and in this case, the ones that you see in red, it was over 100 jumps in that game. And if you look at some of the stats too, it's pretty amazing. Ramat Al-Hassan jumped 37.7 inches in that game, and if you actually Google it, it's a really cool video that they put up themselves because it was amazing in that game. So being able to know the fatigue and the load was a big thing, but they also do that in practice. So they always put up a leaderboard. They know who's maintaining their highest average vertical, who has the best, who's underperforming, and then being able to take that data as well for post-game analysis. Why injury prevention is so important for us is we've all heard in the mainstream concussion injuries are so big. Well, the second is ACL injuries, and mostly it's the youth because they're usually right now focusing on one sport and excessively without any breaks. And that led to us working with USA Volleyball. And so now we're the official wearable technology of USA Volleyball. They just won the World Championship, so we're so excited because it's the first time the US has ever done that. And leading into the Olympics next year in 2016 is going to be so exciting for us to be able to start looking at that injury prevention jump load data with the top of the world. And if you're interested in meeting the head coach and a bunch of the players, they're going to be at our booth tomorrow afternoon at 3 o'clock signing autographs. So the second thing I'll talk about is player motivation. So that's where it started for me 20 years ago, is coaching Little League basketball and see how high kids want to jump. So that 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids, that's all they care about, and their new pair of shoes that they just paid $150 for. But they could see all their information real time from an iOS device and use it quickly for combines and tryouts. But it's really about the parent. The parent now is with helicopter parents. They want to see that data real time and watch it from a game. And so that's what we're seeing a lot of. So there's huge motivation side of things. And we came up with this thing called the Vert Club. And the reason why we did is because we also are the official wearable technology of AAU, which is the Amateur Athletic Union. And we did this thing like, if you guys remember, if you're in my age range, Relax, Don't Do It, Frankie Goes to Hollywood. So we did this big promotion with the 30-inch club, the 25-inch club. And the kids went nuts with it. And so it turned into this big rally thing. And so where it uniquely positioned us was to do fun things and create social badges with that as well. So that's where we see the whole fun motivation side. So in our app, there's a section called props. And in props, you can take a picture of that vertical, put it on Facebook, Twitter. In their case, it's Snapchat, but it disappears in 3 seconds, so it doesn't matter. And you can see all the social icons. What's transferred from there is also the fan experience. So it's not just the user using the product, it's actually the fan watching it. So this was from a couple of weeks ago. It was at the Under Armour All-American game. The teams were wearing our Vert device live in the game, and it was streaming on the Jumbotrons. And I think that's a whole new analytic, just like you see with pitch speed on TV or the yellow line. In football, we're doing it with vertical jump measurements. And we were the first wearable technology in an NCAA broadcast game on Jumbotron. That just happened only in October, so it's been really fast. And there's a 37-inch vertical, which is really exciting. But then we've been testing with ESPN, which is really cool, to be able to see that data on broadcast. And so we did that. We were the first to be able to do that and penetrate and be on with the University of South Carolina versus the University of Florida. Super exciting for us because it's moving so fast. So please start looking for the Vert data on TV. And if all goes well, you'll be seeing the same thing in the Olympics in Rio next 2016. Ready, set, Rio. So thank you for listening.
Okay, so you've had some amazing accomplishments, had some amazing exposure. Going from the idea 20 years ago to implementing 2 years ago, what was it, the catalyzing event or catalyzing occurrence that had you go from, here's this awesome idea to, okay, we're going?
Well, clearly it was the technology had to catch up because 20 years ago you couldn't do anything. I started with fish finders on a shoe to say, here's how high it was. Then you fast forward and then it comes down to telling people that you trust, this is my idea, what do you think? But you have to tell people, you have to surround yourself with people that are gonna sit there and say, look, that is just stupid, or that is a great idea, you should pursue it, right? And a lot of that isn't necessarily family friends, but it's business people to say, you know, okay, I understand that market. And sometimes they don't understand it. So I think it's a combination of then now surrounding yourself with the right people. And for me, it was business people from different businesses. And when they saw it, they go, yeah, that totally makes sense.
Cool.
All right?
All right, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry. All right, this has been so fun. So next, I'm very excited to introduce Jose Bohorquez from Skulpt. And so everyone give him a nice warm welcome to the stage, podium. There you go.
Hi everybody, I'm Jose Bohorquez. I'm co-founder and CEO of Skulpt. And I'm going to take 3 minutes to tell you our company's story, but first I want to take about 30 seconds to tell you about the Skulpt AIM, which is a really important product for us. It's the first device that allows people to measure the quality of their muscles and also the percentage of fat that they have in specific muscles throughout their body. And then they can send that information to their phone. And it's very easy to do. As you'll see on the screen up there, you spray a little bit of water on the sensors, you press it to the muscle that you want to measure, you immediately get that information right on the display. And then all of that information is transferred to a mobile application, so you can measure practically any major muscle in your body. You can track that progress over time. You can get a snapshot of your body where you are today, set goals for yourselves, and then track your progress as you move towards that. And we've been working on the Skulpt AIM for about 18 months, but our history really goes back about 15 years. My co-founder, Dr. Stuart Rutcove, is a professor of neurology at Harvard Medical School. And at that time, he was a researcher wanting to solve really important problems. And he would see patients with neuromuscular problems, things like ALS and muscular dystrophy. And he felt frustrated that he didn't have an accurate, quantitative, non-invasive way of really seeing his patients' progression, you know, if they were getting better or worse over time. So he began doing research with some other professors and came up with a technique called electrical impedance myography, which was really the first way to non-invasively measure your muscles and see how they're improving both in fitness and in health. So we launched the company about 5 years ago. We met while I was a graduate student at MIT, and we initially called it Convergence Medical Devices. We knew that this core technology had a broad range of applications, including medical and consumer. And focus on medical first, we got funding from the National Institute of Health, the National Science Foundation, developed partnerships with a lot of different hospitals and pharmaceutical companies. We're really proud this has been used in more than 50 hospitals in clinical research, helping people understand muscle diseases better and find therapies for them. And then about 18 months ago, we realized that that same technology could make a huge impact in fitness. So when you think about the things that are important in your fitness, whether it's cardiovascular or other types of metrics, one that really doesn't have a good measure is your muscular fitness and also your body composition, which are really critical to your overall health and fitness. So the Skulpt Aim we decided to launch to allow consumers to track that. So to see, am I losing fat? Am I improving my musculature? And how is that happening over time? What parts of my body need more help? All that kind of information. And that's what the Skulpt Aim provides now. So we're really proud of where we've come from, and we think that having come from a medical space and then moving into the consumer space has given us a lot of insight and a lot of, it forces you to be very rigorous in your research, and we think it's allowed us to develop something that consumers are really going to benefit from. Thank you.
No, that's awesome. And you guys have some smarty pants on your team, like being from MIT and also Harvard. So what would you say going from an academic background to then going into a consumer, what was an unexpected challenge that you faced that you would love to share with these lovely people here today?
Sure. I mean, you could see it even in our product naming, right? That medical one was EIM 1103. I think that's what we called it. That's what happens when you let an engineer name a product. You have to learn when you're going to the consumer space, what is it that people need? The ease of use becomes much more important. When you're trying to diagnose a medical condition or follow a patient, there's a higher hurdle that you're willing to go over to get that information. Consumers want everything to be simple. Also, providing that information in a way that's intuitive and allows them to gain insight and improve their fitness through that feedback. That's probably some of the most important stuff, making the transition.
Nice. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, now we're on to our last but not least presentation. I'm excited to introduce Ethan Fassett, the head of product from Basis, to the stage, or to the podium. I'm like, got it.
Hi, everyone. Thank you very much. So let's see. These presentations have been focused around trying to identify challenges that we as startup companies or entrepreneurial companies have faced in addressing the health and fitness space, and particularly looking at various aspects of wearables. So I'll try and focus on that in my discussion. So, Basis, for those who don't know, is a wrist-worn wearable device that tracks activity and tracks your heart rate. It uses a multi-sensor approach to try and get a picture of your health. And we see our challenge as a company and as a product to get people to engage with their health. And so the product is a means by which people can become more aware of their health and engage with it. So that is the core challenge. And then subsequent to that is to try and identify, well, who is this audience that we are trying to get to engage with their health? Because if you look at the market on the whole, there's people on one end of the spectrum who are highly motivated individuals. You might call them intrinsically motivated individuals. These are people who just always bounce out of bed, have always managed to stick to their routines. And then on the other end of the spectrum are folks that really have a difficult time motivating towards being conscious of their health, staying active in their lives, and to the point where they really don't enjoy physical activity. So how is it that first, whom do we identify, and then how is it that we actually engage with these folks? So at Basis, we decided that we wanted to try and tackle not really the folks on the far end of the spectrum who are sort of intrinsically motivated. These guys pretty much lead healthy lives on their own for the most part. What we wanted to do is try and help people who have more difficulty maintaining these sorts of activities and habits. So we had to figure out a way in which this device could keep those people in particular engaged and do so over a long period of time, which is very hard to do. We weren't even sure if it's possible and what are the techniques that we could apply in order to affect that kind of change. So when we look at it, and we look at trying to engage people, and we try to engage people in their health and activity, we have to understand that in a 24-hour cycle, right? Your activity is not just when you go to the gym. It's what you eat, it's what you're doing during your work day, right? Are you sitting at a desk all the time? Do you get up? Do you move around? Those sorts of things, right? And then how do you sleep? These are all aspects of your life that you don't necessarily have insight into, you can't necessarily objectively quantify on your own. So how does we provide a tool that can do that for you, and then how do we process that information and give it back to you in a way that makes sense to you and keeps you engaged in wanting to learn more and see more of how your body behaves. So we look at the product in kind of a three-prong approach, or a three-prong structure. First is gaining insights itself. And so the product, as I mentioned, is a multi-sensor array device. I'm wearing one now. This is the Peak. This is our second generation device, which we just launched a couple months ago. When Basis first launched, it was novel in the activity tracking space, right, which is distinct from, say, like core fitness or specifically health activity tracking. It was distinct in that market for providing optical heart rate sensing and doing so on a 24-hour basis, rather than on a particular, per activity basis, what we call modal heart rate. We do continuous heart rate. In addition, we do things like measure galvanic skin response. So, are you sweating? How much? What your skin temperature is, what the ambient temperature is, and then we also use a 3-axis accelerometer. And we use the accelerometer not just to infer steps, but we have subsequent algorithms that do accelerometry to identify things like, are you riding a bike? Are you going for a run versus going for a walk? And that's sort of over here on the right side, the automatic component. A lot of keeping these things engaging and keeping these things magical is to be able to do these things automatically. The quickest way for me to get you to stop keeping track of your calories is to force you to take a log of it all the time. We're just imperfect in that measure. But if I can do it for you automatically, and I can show that to you on a continual basis, I've saved you a ton of work, and I'm getting to a next order of interest and of context for you. So the automatic component is very crucial to that. And we'll seek to continue to innovate on that and using other sensors in order to infer activity types. Habitual, and the middle piece, is perhaps the most important. So how do you present this information back to the user, and how do you present it back to a particular kind of person who has difficulty motivating? So we've taken a first stab at this, and I think it's done a pretty good job if you look at the engagement characteristics of the software. But effectively what we try to do, excuse me, is to define and break down somebody's daily life into core discrete activities. And these are not necessarily things like go run a marathon or go jogging for the day. We do track some of that stuff, but it's more about trying to understand incremental activities within a person's daily life. So this is stuff that anybody theoretically should be able to achieve. And we want to be able to create those definitions, and we have targets that we set for you, and those targets are automatically adjusting based upon how well you are continually achieving those goals or missing those goals, right? Another great way for me to get you to stop engaging with something is to give you a goal that's not achievable. It's a great way for you not to change your behavior. But if I give you something and I give you, a really achievable goal, just run a mile today. Or why don't you try not sitting for about 45 minutes or get up every 45 minutes, something along those lines. Break things down into these small little units and reward you on a regular basis. It's engaging, and it's something that you can accomplish. You get to see the rewards. You get to see when you don't, but it's multivariate. We give it in a way that's sort of like a menu selection for people so they can kind of see and focus on different things. One of the last things we do automatically using our heart rate signals, we actually can look inside your sleep. So we worked with UC San Francisco, we worked with the Veterans Hospital in order to do sleep analysis. And using our optical heart rate sensing, we actually can see sleep phasing. We've done what I just described for you in daily activity, also in terms of sleeping. And we're working on drawing correlations between very simple activities and dietary changes and things like that that can be done in order to influence a very specific sleep analysis. Biggest challenge? Well, there are a ton of challenges. I mean, even just being able to identify the market was a huge challenge. But the biggest is really getting the hardware right and doing it well. This is our second generation. It's come a tremendous distance from our first generation. There's still room for improvement, but doing this right, it's, as you've heard from all of these guys here, wearable devices, and particularly these sorts of devices, are so new in the market that we're all trialing and erroring quite a lot, and so getting this right really was very challenging. But we think we've come up with something that's wearable. You can wear it 24 hours a day. It's not uncomfortable. It's scalable. It's something you can wear with different types of clothing, that sort of thing. And it's simple. It's easy for you to use. I think I stopped it. All right, thank you guys very much.
It's like, so on your first slide, it said how Basis Science is a Intel corporation. So how has having the backing of Intel impacted your business?
Good question. It's been incredible so far. It's been about a little bit less than a year since the acquisition. So for those of you who've ever gone through those, they take time to mature. We got acquired by a really exciting group called the New Devices Group within Intel, which is just challenged with creating wearables, all types of wearable technology. So we've gotten plugged into a lot of smart people, obviously a lot of capital backing, and they've basically said, Basis, go continue being Basis, tackle the market as you have. So it's been really exciting.
Nice.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, wasn't that amazing? Yeah, it was good. Give them a round of applause. Julie, how are we doing on time? Do we have time for any questions?
Actually, we don't have time for questions,
I'm sorry.
but the good news is that we have about 12 minutes to stretch our legs, ask questions of the panelists. You know, if you want to do it individually, you can do whatever you want for the next 12 minutes, but just please be seated right at 11:30 so we can continue with the CMO of Jaybird. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.